Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the best Tridents in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. So, historically, Tridents were used for fishing as they are similar to spears, but they have two extra prongs on them, giving you a higher chance of hitting a fish. Now, this is also the weapon of Poseidon and Neptune, and they're a pretty decent weapon overall in Baldur's Gate 3 for a variety of reasons. Now, you can use these in a single hand, or you can two-hand them, so you can use them with a shield or get a little bit of extra damage from them. Now, all Tridents will be dealing piercing damage, and some of them have a few extra damage types that are added onto it, which I think is awesome. Piercing damage is great because you can apply vulnerability to piercing relatively easy, making these a pretty good weapon. And a nice extra bonus is Tridents can be all thrown. So this works great on Eldritch Knights or even Barbarians, but yeah, they all will deal 1d6 of damage if you one-handed, or 1d8 if you two-hand them. So that's a little bit extra damage there for not using a shield, but I'd recommend usually using a shield. Now, for weapon actions, all Tridents come with Rush Attack, which allows you to charge forward and try to hit the enemy, knocking them off balance, which is a nice condition that you can apply, and it gives you a bit of extra movement, so that's a quite nice weapon action that's on all of them. Off balance gives disadvantage on dexterity and strength saving throws, ability checks, and attack rolls against the enemy have advantage. So this is nice because you can start off by giving advantage on an attack roll and then getting a sneak attack in potentially. Also, it has Piercing Strike, which inflicts gaping wounds, which is a nice status that'll deal an additional 2 piercing damage, and that's every time they get an attack against them, so that's nice. And it also has Disarming Strike, so that is basically the Battle Master maneuver, but you get it on all these Tridents, so they're honestly quite good. The first one we're going to be starting with is the Pact Bound Trident. So this is exclusive to the Warlock if they use the Pact of the Blade and summon in their own Trident. It doesn't have any extra benefits other than just the regular 1d6 of damage. But what's nice is it uses your spellcasting modifier. So Charisma will be the spellcasting modifier for this, giving it a little bit better odds for someone like a Warlock. But it has the regular Rush Attack, Piercing Strike, and Disarming Strike. But what's nice about it is the damage is counted as magical. So if you come against something that has a resistance to the piercing damage, it treats the damage as magical, overcoming that. So that's a nice little bonus. And for that, I would probably say it's like C to B tier. It's not great, but I'm ranking these against the others, so it could potentially be a B. I'll put it in the B tier for now. It might go down to C tier. But yeah, having magical damage is a nice little bonus, so we're going to acknowledge that. Next, we got the Trident. Just regular old 1d6 Trident. Nothing special here, just as the normal weapon actions. We do have another one that looks similar, but I'll be getting to that in a moment because it has some unique properties to it. But the regular old Trident, not really anything special there because this one just overcomes that piercing damage resistance, whereas this one does not. So yeah, I have to put that in the C tier. It doesn't provide any extra benefit over what we've already got. So yeah. Next, we got the Trident +1. So this is, again, just very basic. It just has a +1 weapon enhancement. So the damage is the 1d6 +1. You get a +1 to your attack rolls. That's not bad. I'll put it above the Pact Bound Trident because it is a little bit better, but not by much. Just an extra 1 to its attacks and damage rolls. So still decent. I think Tridents are an underrated weapon type overall. Next, we got the Rusty Trident, and what's funny about the Rusty Trident is there's only one of them in the game, and it's near Rivington. So there's a gate at the front of Rivington, and this is there. While it has the same stats, it's just 1d6. It sells for much less than other Tridents, so that just gives it the D tier because it's uglier and it has less value in terms of selling it. So yeah, obviously D tier. But now we're getting into the good ones. So we got some fun ones here. This first is, we'll go with the Trident of the, or I guess this is the Trident +2. Now, the Trident +2 is interesting because there's only one of them available in the game, and you don't actually get it until you fight the Netherbrain. So it's literally at the very end of the game, making it pretty much obsolete because you're not going to really use it that much. At least I wouldn't think so. But you get it from the Darkening Hunt, so you have to side with the Emperor to even get this weapon, and there's going to be a Ranger aberration enemy that you have to fight, and they'll be equipped with this Trident. Obviously a +2 is better, so I'm not going to put it in the A tier, but the fact that you can only really use it in the final fight, it should be probably D tier, but I'm just going to rank in terms of its effectiveness. It's still a Trident at the end of the day, and that +2 to the weapon enhancement is kind of nice, so the 1d6 +2, making it the best Trident so far, but not very practical. But next, we got ourselves the Sparky Points. So this is a funky one because it has the electric blood built into it. So when the wielder deals damage with this weapon, they gain 2 lightning charges. So this could be a good weapon early on if you wanted to use somewhat of a lightning charge build, because you can get this in Act 1. So this is actually a really easy to get item. You can choose between the Jolt Shooter, the Spell Sparkler, or the Trident. So you got your choice of the bow, staff, or this Trident. Being the only melee weapon that has the built-in lightning charges, it's not a bad choice, and you can also throw it, so that's another nice benefit from it. But does just 1d6 damage, so it doesn't have the magical enhancement, unfortunately. It doesn't get the +1 or +2 to attack rolls. I'm still going to put it in the A tier because you can use some people really like the lightning charge builds, and actually you'll get 2 stacks, so when you attack with this, that gives you a +2 to your attack rolls with the lightning charges, and you'll deal additional lightning damage. So yeah, I would say it ends up probably being better than the Trident +2, because after 1 attack, you get that benefit, plus you get lightning charges giving you lightning damage, which is not a bad damage type, one of the best in the game. So yeah, well, you may not use this often, it's still something that you could consider, so I have to put it in the A tier. Next, we got the Trident of the Depths. This is a weapon you can actually get. So it's from the Water Myrmidon. So you have to, in order to get this, what you have to do is you have to summon it in the Water Myrmidon, and then you got to make sure that it gets arrested. And then you can go loot the Trident from the chest, because it'll disarm the Water Myrmidon, and then you can get the weapon for free. So kind of a funny workaround. You can actually do this with all of the elemental weapons, but I would say that this is a very solid one because it does 1d6 +3 damage. So it has a +3 enhancement. That's incredible. And in addition, it also gives you a 1d6 of cold damage, which cold damage is one of the best damage types in the game because it can be doubled with Create Water, which I'll be getting to. There's actually a Trident that can apply Create Water. So I would say that the Trident of the Depths, well, it's not one that you're normally going to get. It's still very, very good. If you glitch and get it, you'll enjoy it. You can also get it by summoning a level 10 mercenary, starting a conversation with Withers, and choosing that you want to release the mercenary. Don't select them, keep the dialogue open, and then you got to change your character to a mercenary, use a wild shape Water Myrmidon, and then return to the dialogue with Withers, and then release the Druid who is wild shaped into the Myrmidon at level 10 or higher. And then once you recruit them again, they'll have the weapon in their inventory. This works similar to like the Flame Blade glitch, which allows you to get a free Flame Blade, as well as the Shadow Blade. So I do have videos on that on my channel, so you can check those out if you're curious. But this is another way you can get the Trident of the Depths. I would say it's probably a high A tier because it is a good weapon, even though it is a glitch weapon. You're not supposed to get it. It's still good because it gets that extra cold damage. And it also has High Maul Strike as a weapon action, a unique one. So with this, you get your normal weapon damage plus a 1d10 of cold damage. In addition, you can also chill the target, giving them vulnerability to cold damage, so that 10 cold damage would turn to 20 on your next attack. That is great. And on top of all that, if you use Create Water or apply Wet to a target, you can freeze it for a turn. So that is solid because when you freeze it, they get vulnerability to Force, Thunder, and any type of bludgeoning damage. So that's really good. So yeah, despite being a glitch weapon, you still can get it, so I had to rank it on here. And next, we have one of my favorite weapons in the entire game with Nyrulna. So you get this by fooling the genie in Act 3, and there's also another really big weapon there, one of my favorites, or my favorite item, the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, so don't miss that. Once you see the Nyrulna, know there's another item there, so don't just leave. But what the Nyrulna does, it's a +3 Trident, so it does the 1d6 +3 damage. In addition, it also does a 1d6 of thunder damage. So on top of that, you're also being able to proc your reverberation stacks. So if you're going with a build like that, you'll be able to proc that. Really nice. In addition to this, it also has the Zephyr connection. So the weapon returns to your hand when thrown, so you get a free returning. So you don't have to play as the Eldritch Knight, and you don't have to bind it. It'll just return to your hand naturally. You can't be forced to drop the Trident. And when you throw it, it deals 3d4 of thunder damage in a 6-meter radius, which is actually quite a large radius. I'll just let you know you'll probably hit your teammates a couple times when throwing this, because that is a huge radius, and that deals a ton of extra damage with thunder. So that's really nice. It works well if you got like a Tempest Cleric who gets that extra pushback on that. So could be a nice synergy there. And you get the Veil of the Wind, so you gain a 3 meters movement speed bonus, so that's great. Getting extra movement speed is huge, and it can also stack with the Crusher's Ring. And also, if you're a Wood Elf, you'll get a ton of movement speed. And also, it gives you an increased jump distance of that same amount, and you also get immunity to fall damage, which is nice. Nice little bonus. On top of all of this, it also has a glowing radius of up to 6 meters, so if you have any items that proc on being illuminated, you'll be able to trigger them with this weapon as well. So yeah, it has the piercing strike and the maiming strike, so it actually has some different weapon actions than the other Tridents. Piercing strike does give the gaping wounds. All of them have piercing strike, but it has maiming strike, which can maim the target, making their movement speed 0. So that's really good as well. On top of that, it has the Zephyr Flash, so you can rush forward, create an air vortex that possibly inflicts bleeding, and this weapon action does 6d8 of thunder damage. So that's actually really nice, and it has a dex save of 15, so targets that succeeded, they'll take half damage, and if not, they'll take that full damage from the 6d8, which is upwards of 48 damage. That's pretty good. It also has a Zephyr Break, so basically it's Gust of Wind, but it deals thunder damage 6d6, so you get a little extra damage on top of that, and it's Gust of Wind, so you can knock the target off balance. That's really nice. So you have to fool the Akabi, the genie, and you get teleported. You basically just you find out that he's rigging it, and you can steal the genie ring, so he can't rig it anymore. He'll realize, he'll send you off to the jungle. There's dinosaurs there, pretty cool, but grab the Nyrulna. It's locked in a chest, and then the Band of the Mystic Scoundrel, which is arguably a better item, is also there too. So the Nyrulna, obviously, it's an S tier item. It's just extremely powerful. Probably the most recognizable, easily the most recognizable Trident on here because it's just so good. But finally, we got the Trident of the Waves. You're going to get this in Act 3. It's actually in the Counting House in the Security Vault number 4. So relatively easy to find. I would recommend going after this, especially if you want to get Minsk. It's kind of where you have to go for that. But it's a +1 Trident, so you would think not as good as the others, but it actually has one crucial thing to it that makes this weapon extremely good. So with this, when you attack someone with this, it applies wet to the target and leaves a pool of water around them. That is huge because you can apply wet to a target. Let's say you got a barbarian and they're throwing this around. You can apply wet on a few targets, and then you can have your sorcerer come in and do a chain lightning and quicken another chain lightning, and then the encounter's over. The Trident of the Waves is extremely good, and it's another S tier Trident because those benefits are just so good. Even if it is just a +1 enhancement, there's only one others that has a +2. I guess there's the Myrmidon's one that gives you a +3, but that's not normally acquired. But even so, the best Trident only has a +2. So getting a +1 is still pretty good, but the fact that it applies wet makes it very, very effective, and it creates a 2-meter pool of water around the target. So yeah, this weapon is incredible, and I would recommend pairing it alongside if you're doing like a Storm Sorcerer, Tempest Cleric build, and you have your whole team kitted up for that. This is a great weapon to give to like a Barbarian or an Eldritch Knight thrower, so you still have a tanky character like an Eldritch Knight or a Barbarian to take hits for your Sorcerers and Tempest Clerics. And then they also get a ton of synergy from it because everyone you attack with this gets the vulnerability to wet damage, or vulnerability to lightning and cold damage, making it very, very strong. So there it is. There's the best Tridents ranked in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video fun, please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.